Imagine a prison with invisible walls. You spend your entire life running, striving, accumulating, always trying to escape an unseen threat. You build magnificent fortresses, gather immense wealth, chase fleeting pleasures, all to outrun something you can't quite name, a shadow that looms larger with every passing year. This relentless pursuit, this desperate avoidance, is the greatest suffering. It is the suffering born from ignorance, the profound, terrifying ignorance of life and death. The universal fear. We are born into a world of vibrant colors, sounds, and sensations. We learn to love, to laugh, to dream. But beneath the surface of our daily lives, a primal fear often lurks, the fear of death. Not just the physical cessation, but the unknown that lies beyond. This fear, this profound uncertainty about what awaits us, casts a long shadow over humanity, driving us into a state of perpetual anxiety, a silent panic that shapes our every decision. If this resonates with you, consider subscribing to the Noble Wisdom Path, where we explore ancient wisdom for modern life. The nature of this suffering, ignorance as the root. The Buddha taught that suffering, dukkha, is inherent in existence. But among all forms of suffering, the deepest, most insidious pain is that which stems from avijja, ignorance. Specifically, ignorance of the Four Noble Truths, and crucially, ignorance of the true nature of birth, aging, sickness, and death. We fear death not because it is inherently terrifying, but because we are blind to its reality, its process, and its implications. This ignorance manifests in several ways. 1. The illusion of permanence, nityasaj. We cling to the illusion that things are permanent. Our bodies, our relationships, our possessions, our very sense of self. We build our lives on shifting sands, convinced they will last forever. When the inevitable tide of change, decay, and death approaches, this illusion shatters, leaving us devastated. The pain is not in the impermanence itself, but in our resistance to it, our refusal to acknowledge the fundamental truth of anicca, impermanence. 2. The fear of annihilation, akita. For many, death is the ultimate end, the complete annihilation of being. This view, known as akita, fuels an existential dread. If everything we are, everything we've done, simply ceases to exist, what is the point? This fear drives us to desperately seek meaning in fleeting achievements, to leave a legacy, to grasp at anything that might offer a semblance of continuity. But the Buddha taught that while the aggregates, form, feeling, perception, mental formations, consciousness, are impermanent, the process of karma continues, leading to rebirth. Ignorance of this continuity, this samsaric flow, traps us in a cycle of fear. 3. The blindness to karma and rebirth, kamma and punabhava. We live as if our actions have no ultimate consequence beyond this single lifetime. We chase pleasure, avoid pain, and often act out of greed, hatred, and delusion, oblivious to the intricate web of cause and effect, karma. The Buddha revealed that our actions, intentions, and accumulated tendencies shape not only this life, but also future existences. Ignorance of punabhava, rebirth, means we are unprepared for the journey, clinging to the familiar shores of this life, while the vast ocean of future possibilities remains unseen. This blindness prevents us from cultivating wholesome actions that would lead to a favorable future, trapping us in a cycle of unskillful choices and their painful results. 4. The denial of suffering, dukkha. Perhaps the most pervasive form of ignorance is the denial of suffering itself. We distract ourselves with endless entertainment, material pursuits, and superficial relationships, all to avoid confronting the inherent dissatisfaction and pain of existence. We live in a state of dukkha, suffering of suffering, viparinama dukkha, suffering of change, and sankhara dukkha, suffering of conditioned existence, yet we pretend it doesn't exist. This denial prevents us from seeking the path to liberation, keeping us bound to the very things that cause us pain. The Buddha's path, illuminating the darkness. The Buddha, having awakened to the true nature of reality, offered a path to dispel this profound ignorance. He didn't offer a comforting fantasy, but a radical truth, a truth that, when embraced, liberates us from the fear of death and the anxiety of the unknown. 1. Contemplation of impermanence, anicca. By deeply contemplating the impermanent nature of all phenomena, we begin to loosen our grip. We observe the rise and fall of sensations, thoughts, and emotions. We acknowledge the aging of our bodies, the changing of seasons, the ebb and flow of relationships. This isn't morbid, it's liberating. When we truly understand that clinging to the impermanent is the cause of suffering, we naturally begin to let go. 2. Understanding non-self, anatta. The concept of anatta, non-self, is perhaps the most challenging, yet most liberating. We mistakenly identify with a fixed ego, a permanent I. But upon close examination, we find no such unchanging entity. Our thoughts, feelings, perceptions, and consciousness are constantly arising and passing away. When we realize that there is no fixed self to be annihilated, the fear of death as an end to me dissolves. We begin to see ourselves as part of a larger, interconnected process, a flow of phenomena. 3. Cultivating wholesome karma, kamma. Instead of fearing the unknown, we focus on what we can control, our actions, words, and thoughts in the present moment. By cultivating kamma, wholesome actions rooted in generosity, compassion, and wisdom, we sow the seeds for favorable future conditions, whether in this life or the next. This understanding shifts our focus from avoidance to cultivation, from fear to proactive engagement with life. 4. Developing wisdom, panna. The ultimate antidote to ignorance is panna, wisdom, the direct insight into the true nature of reality. This wisdom is not intellectual knowledge alone, but a deep, experiential understanding of impermanence, suffering, and non-self. Through meditation and mindful living, we develop the clarity to see things as they truly are, stripping away the layers of delusion that fuel our fears. This wisdom illuminates the path, making the unknown less daunting, and the journey of life and death a process to be understood, not feared. The ultimate freedom, living fully, dying peacefully. When we confront our ignorance of life and death, when we truly understand that clinging to the impermanent is the source of suffering, a profound shift occurs. The fear of death transforms into an acceptance of life's natural cycle. We stop running from the inevitable and start living fully in the present moment. We engage with life with a newfound courage, knowing that every experience, every breath, is a precious opportunity to cultivate wisdom and compassion. This isn't about becoming fearless in a reckless way. It's about becoming free from the suffering caused by fear. It's about understanding that the greatest pain is not death itself, but the life lived in perpetual avoidance of it. When we shed the veil of ignorance, we find that the path through life and death is not a terrifying void, but a continuous journey of transformation. What if the greatest freedom lies not in escaping death, but in understanding it? What if embracing the full spectrum of existence, including its end, is the key to living a life truly unbound? If this exploration has sparked a deeper curiosity within you, please consider subscribing to the Noble Wisdom Path. Share this video with someone who might benefit from this perspective, and let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Together, let's illuminate the path through life's greatest mysteries.